Welcome back to a new episode, and we're talking about something you've probably noticed.
Yeah.
Your energy bill.
It's gone up.
It has gone up.
Right. It has. And, inflation is part of it. But
Right.
we're going to look at something you might not have thought about.
Okay.
We're going to look at how some new technologies like artificial intelligence, AI and Bitcoin are actually use up a lot of energy,
Okay.
a lot of electricity.
So we have some research here
Yeah.
that shows how AI training and Bitcoin mining
Mm-hmm.
are really contributing to these higher energy costs.
Yeah.
And it might make you think about these technologies a little differently.
Yeah. Let's start with AI. You've probably heard of ChatGPT.
Right.
It's an AI that can write stories and answer questions.
It can do a lot.
It can do a lot, but
Yeah.
to do that, it has to be trained on a huge amount of data.
Yeah.
And that training takes a lot of computer power, which means a lot of electricity.
And it's not just AI. Bitcoin mining uses a lot of energy too. Bitcoin is a digital currency. And to make sure those Bitcoin transactions are secure,
Right.
computers have to solve really complex math problems.
Yes.
And those computers use a ton of energy.
You can think of it this way. One Bitcoin transaction uses the same amount of electricity as an average American household uses in a month.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and training a complex AI can have the same carbon footprint as making hundreds of cars.
That is a lot of energy.
It is.
So these industries are basically competing with us for electricity.
They are, and that can drive up the price we all pay for energy.
Yeah.
We can look at a real-world example in Texas.
Okay.
Texas became a really popular place for Bitcoin mining because energy was cheaper there.
Oh.
But as more and more miners came to Texas, the demand for electricity went way up.
So what happened in Texas when that demand for electricity went up?
Well, energy prices spiked by as much as 20% in some parts in Texas.
Wow.
And because the power grid was strained, there were rolling blackouts, meaning people lost power, especially during the hot summer months.
Mm-hmm.
So Bitcoin miners were making money, but regular people in Texas were paying more for electricity and sometimes even losing power.
So it seems like big companies are making a lot of profit,
Yeah.
and everyday people are paying the price.
And it's not just in Texas. It's happening all over the world.
Right.
As these industries grow, they put more stress on power grids everywhere, and that can lead to higher prices for everyone.
So we're seeing these really futuristic technologies
Yeah.
having a direct impact on our wallets and the environment.
Mhm.
That's kind of ironic, isn't it?
It is ironic. AI and Bitcoin are often talked about as solutions for a better future.
Right.
But because they use so much energy, and a lot of that energy comes from fossil fuels, they actually contribute to climate change.
So they're kind of trying to save the world
Yeah.
and burn it down at the same time.
Bitcoin mining alone produces a massive amount of CO2 emissions every year.
Wow.
It's like the entire carbon footprint of a country like New Zealand. And as AI models get more and more complex, their energy use and carbon footprint are only going to increase.
So we have these technologies that are supposed to be making our lives better,
Yeah.
but they're also creating new problems.
Right.
It seems like something's not being considered here.
You're right. These tech giants and Bitcoin mining companies are making huge profits, but they're often not taking responsibility for the environmental and financial burdens they're putting on everyone else. They have the money to invest in sustainable energy solutions, but they often choose to focus on making more money in the short term.
Yeah.
It's really important to think about the bigger picture,
Right.
When you read about the latest AI development or how the price of Bitcoin is going up,
Right.
remember that there's another side to that story.
It seems like we always think that progress has to have a downside.
Yeah.
Like we have to accept the bad with the good, but
Right.
maybe we don't have to.
I mean, we don't. We can have innovation and progress without, hurting the planet or our own finances.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be one or the other.
So there's a cost to all this progress.
Yeah.
But who's really paying that cost?
That's a good question. When energy prices go up, who do you think feels it the most? It's often families with lower incomes, people living in older homes that aren't energy efficient,
Right.
communities that are already struggling. They're
Yeah.
the ones who are hit the hardest.
So it's like an extra burden on the people who can least afford it.
Exactly. And these tech companies, even though they're making a lot of money, they don't always put that money back into the communities
Right.
that are most affected by their operations.
Yeah, it doesn't seem fair.
It's not.
They benefit,
Yeah,
and others are left with the problems.
you're right. It's really important to talk about this and to make people aware of what's going on,
Yeah.
to ask for more transparency and accountability from these industries.
We've talked about nuclear power and renewables as possible solutions. Is there anything individuals can do to make a difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a saying, think globally, act locally.
Right.
We can start by being more mindful of our own energy use.
So things like, using energy-efficient appliances and being careful about how much energy we use at home.
Right, those little things can really add up.
Yeah.
But it's also about being informed consumers, supporting companies that are trying to be sustainable.
So like choosing products and services from companies that are using renewable energy and being honest about their impact on the environment.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of your voice. Talk to your friends and family about these issues.
Yeah.
Let your elected officials know that you support policies that promote clean energy and hold these industries accountable.
So we can all work together to kind of push for change.
Exactly. Knowledge is power. The more you know about where your energy comes from and the real cost of these technologies, the better choices you can make and the stronger your voice will be when advocating for a more sustainable future.
We don't have to just accept this as the way things are,
Right.
We can have a choice in how our future looks.
I agree. It starts with asking the right questions, demanding transparency, and holding these powerful industries responsible for what they do.
We all deserve a future where technology makes things better.
Yeah.
Without harming the planet or our wallets.
I agree. We need to find ways to ensure that these technological advancements benefit everyone, not just a select few.
So what else can we do? We mentioned nuclear power and renewables. Are there other options?
There are. One solution is to actually make the technologies themselves more efficient.
Okay.
For example, researchers are working on new types of AI models that use less energy.
Okay.
And in the Bitcoin world, there's a growing movement to switch from the current proof-of-work system, which is very energy intensive, to a proof-of-stake system, which uses much less energy.
So we can work on making the technologies themselves more energy friendly.
Right.
What about the way these technologies are powered?
That's key. We need to shift away from fossil fuels and move towards cleaner energy sources.
Okay.
Nuclear power, as we mentioned earlier, is a safe and efficient way to produce a lot of energy without carbon emissions.
Right.
And of course, there are renewable energy sources like solar, wind, and hydropower.
Yeah.
Iceland, for example, is already using geothermal energy to power a lot of its Bitcoin mining.
So it sounds like there are a lot of different pieces to this puzzle.
There are.
What's the most important thing for people to understand here?
I think the most important thing is to realize that we have choices. We don't have to accept high energy bills and a damaged planet as the inevitable consequences of progress.
Right.
We can demand better from our leaders and from the companies that are developing and using these technologies.
So the next time you see your energy bill and you wonder why it's so high, remember, it's not just about inflation.
It's not.
It's about the choices that we're making as a society.
It's about the choices that we make as consumers, as voters, as citizens of this planet.
This has been a really interesting conversation.
It has.
Thanks for helping us understand this complex issue a little bit better.
My pleasure. I hope we gave everyone some things to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
I remember, the future is not set in stone. We have the power to shape it.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.